Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Welcome to a video. Been missing a bit, haven't I? I've been under the weather. I wouldn't say I was ill, but I certainly haven't been right. Been off my food and I've just basically been permanently cold, achy joints and stuff. I've spent quite a bit, almost a whole day, sat in my comfy chair in there with my outdoor coat over me on top of my clothes because I just can't get warm. Now we have had very low temperatures, daytime as well as well below freezing at night. And I've had the heating on full blast 24/7 and I can't get the house warm. It just leaches heat so badly that it won't get warm. Today is the first time it's come up to a reasonable temperature. And it is turning milder now. We've got a storm coming in, first named storm of the year, which depending on how it swirls, it's a low pressure, goes that way, because that looks wrong on the screen, but I'm sure it'll be right when you see it. But it's going to go across the south of England. They've been predicting where it might be, whereas now it's reasonably certain where it's going to be, and the low pressure centre is going to go over the south of England. And that means we get winds and we get heavy rain. But unfortunately, as it passes across us and gets into the North Sea, the top side of it, the spinning side, comes up against the cold air, and it's going to turn all that rain to snow, which could head down here. Probably won't get this far, that's what usually happens, but it's the first named storm of the year. They're predicting some structural damage here and there with the high winds and the heavy rain. We shall see, and some pretty heavy snowfalls predicted in the middle area of the UK, Wales and the Midlands. It's been mostly up north and Scotland so far. Scotland have had snow every day this year, apparently. Every day, and so it just keeps getting topped up. And the day temperatures are nowhere near enough to start a thaw, and they're still not. So, bit of bad weather. We don't get this sort of weather often, so we're useless at catering for it. You know, we get cancelled trains and roads blocked and trucks stopped. I've even seen a video of a gritting lorry stuck in a ditch. That's comical. It's still a lorry at the end of the day. The grit's going out behind it. You know, what it's driving on hasn't been gritted yet, and obviously it slid. Probably trying to avoid some idiot coming the other way who wouldn't get over, because that's what happens. Right, so that's the reason I haven't done any videos. I just haven't felt like it, simple as that. I'm up and running today. I got up this morning thinking, yay, I think I'm okay. Tucked into a nice breakfast and yeah, we sort of seem okay. And what it was, I don't know. It wasn't flu, because it wasn't bad enough. And it's not a cold, because I'm not all bunged up. It's just not right. I'm just putting it down as under the weather. That's the only thing I can think of to call it, apart from a nuisance. I do not like not being up to scratch. It's just, I don't get ill. Something that's very rare with me. I don't get ill. And to have achy joints, elbows, knees, my back was playing up, all that, and hunched shoulders, and do without all that, thank you very much. We're okay now. Right, now we're going to have a look at my Pleonies. Now, I'm going to start a playlist for these because this will be my first full year with them. And prior to doing anything with them, I'm going to do some research, I'm going to do some work. Because this is my first year, there are various ideas of how to start the year. Some people would have started it last year by taking all the dormant bulbs out of their pots and drying them off and putting them in the fridge. That's one chain of thought, and quite a few people go down that path. Others take them out of their pots and dry them off and just store them somewhere cold and dry. There's another path. All this is prior to now. This is all end of season to go through the winter. Mathers leave them in their pots. They don't take them out of the pots, they leave them in. And that's their school of thought. They over the period of time they've been growing them, which is not long, but they did inherit the national collection from a very well-known hybridiser, and sat him down and grilled him and got every bit of information they could possibly get. So their idea is that they leave them in pots, but I've got a gap in information because I don't know what they do come the spring. Do they then take them out of their pots and put them in fresh media? Those that aren't in pots, the other chains of thought, obviously get potted up once they start to come back into growth, which is what mine are showing signs of doing. So I need this information now. I wish my friend Helen was up and running, but she's got family issues at the moment, so she's not really available, because she's been growing them a while. She's got some, well, I've got a bag full of stuff from her. So we're going to have a look at them and have a think. The basic principle is that a bulb will produce a new growth which becomes the flower. Yeah? The flower dies and that new growth becomes that year's bulb, which you grow on through the growing season. And everywhere I've read it says that the old bulb dies. Well, that hasn't happened with any of mine. I've still got plump bulbs, and those plump bulbs have got new growths on them. So I'm not sure what's going on. I've got to get my head around the whole subject, if you see what I mean. So we're going to sit down and do some work. I could have been doing that while I wasn't well, but I just didn't feel like it. So I'm going to drop the camera around and down a bit, and we'll just have a look at what I've got. Let's see, where are we pointing now? Somewhere like that. Hang on, I'll have to go up a bit because the fan's in the way and I'm not moving that. We'll go up over the top of the fan and then come down again a bit. I'll move along and I'll even zoom in a bit so that we can... So I'm now pointing at that end of the table, so I must make sure that that's where we do our work. Something like that. Right, I need to put my hand down to see where we are. Yeah. Let's move down a bit. Right, I'll go over now. There's two bulbs in here. They're still firm. This is like rock hard. It's set solid where it's been kept so dry. This is Pleione Orchids. This was bought at my visit to Mathers. So this is probably one of the National Collection hybrids that they inherited. It may be one of their own. They're not selling many of their own hybrids yet because they haven't got enough. They haven't got a back stock to be able to spare them without the potential of losing the hybrid. Now this would just lift out so you can see what media it's in. Now I'm not going to do anything with it today, but I don't see the new growth starting on these yet. So but I don't want them to stay in that pot for my growing season, so I want them to come out. This is where I've got to do the bit of work, because Mathers say they leave them in their pots because they establish better in the spring. That's their theory. But does that mean they still take them out in the spring and repot them? Or does it mean they leave them in the old media? Perhaps for a couple of years. I just don't know. It's a blind spot. But anyway, I've got two plump bulbs here. They were bought in flower, both of them. So yet again, where's the old bulb? Where's the bit that's going to die? I've not got my head around this yet. Now this one is Tongariro. This was bought from Burnham's in bloom. It's had a couple of those little bulbils which I stuck in the pot. They are tiny, they've got no roots on, but they're not dead. They will grow. Now as you can see, there's the flower spike and the bulb it came off of. This one has a new growth that is pushing on. So what do? Do I leave it in that pot? Do I take it out and give it some fresh media? Oh, and in fact it's got two new growths. There's another one round here. So this one's got two new growths actually growing now. Yeah? And then this one is Formosana, which again came from Burnham's, and it was a species. It's a tiny little bulb. You can see some of the roots in the pot. It's not showing any signs of a new growth yet, and it's got a little bulbil that's loose in the pot. So that's that. And then over here we've got, this is another one from Mather's. This is Pleione Vicky. And we've got 3 bulbs in here. There's no sign of new growths yet. And I can't remember what's going on here, because this was bought in flower, which means there was a bulb, the previous year's bulb, pushed out a new shoot which flowered. So what have I got left in here then? Is this those original old bulbs that have already flowered? Or is this the bulbs that were produced after the flowers died? And if so, where's the old bulb? It's a conundrum. I've got a clue what's going on here. I need to get my head around all this. And then this is another Tongariro. This was one of the bulbils that came off of this earlier in the season that actually got put in its own pot, and it did actually grow some roots. I don't think it's big enough to bloom, but it does have a new growth just starting, just there, the end of my finger. So Tongariro obviously grows early. So that's that lot. And then we've got the bags. Now this lot are potentially Tongariro. These are from my friend Helen. And let's just get the pots out of the way. And I can tip these out then. And we can have a rummage. It's a rummage sale. Because there's quite a few in here. There's bulbils and flowering sized bulbs, and there's quite a few. Now this tangle here looks mainly like bulbils, but it's not, because I mean, if you take this one here, and this one here, with its roots still attached, I mean that one's got 2 nice new growths starting. So, and again over here we've got new growths pushing on here. Many of these have got new growths. Some have got more than one. And there are various size bulbs here. There are some quite small ones. But even the small ones, I mean, you know, even the small ones here have got new growth starting. So I think these need potting up, because if you look at some of the new growths, they're getting quite large. And 2 on that bulb as well. That's potentially 2 flowers. Probably. Because I'm a real expert, I know exactly what's going to happen next. Not. So we have a bag full of these. These need potting up. And if they're going to get potted up, they just as well get potted up with those, which are both Tongariro as well. So I need to find some shallow clay pans. That's what Mather's grow them in, and I've seen other people growing them in. And quite honestly, all of those Tongariros could well go into one large shallow pan. And then whichever are going to bloom will have a nice pot full of blooms, because they don't last long. You're only looking at about 3 weeks. And then it's down to growing, because once the blooms go over, the leaves start coming. We'll have a pot full of leaves. But those need something doing with them, and I think they just need potting up. And looking at what Mather's are growing theirs in, we got that one out of the pot, we didn't get this one out. Are you going to come out? God, solid. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's a majority of moss with some bark and perlite. but the majority of what it's in is moss. And then in the bottom of the pot they've actually got those clay balls. I've forgotten what that flipping stuff's called. I've got some down in the shed, I've got a bag full of that. So we could replicate what Mathers do, because that's not a shallow pot, but they've turned it into a shallow pot by putting the clay balls in the bottom. That name just will not come. Let's get the hoover out as well. And then in here we've also got some flowering sized bulbs that came from somebody at the Orchid Society. I think there's 3 in here, yes there's 3. And these are good sized bulbs. And this is Pleione Zeus. Now that growth to me looks like it's failing, but this one isn't. And on here, now I was going to say, if you look at this one, the brown one, yeah, it looks like it's failing. Yeah, have a good look. Get your eye in. That's what that one looks like. To me it looks like it's failing. But when I pick the next one up, it's also got one of these brown ones. But this brown one is splitting at the top. And you can see the new growth coming out. So this one isn't failing, so I doubt if that one is as well. And another new growth coming up from the base. And then a third bulb which has 2 of the brown ones on. So potentially we've got 2, 4, 5 blooms to come on this, on these 6 potential blooms on this, and these blooms are quite large. So again, these 3 need potting up. They'll all go in the same pot together, yeah, so that they can put on a display of blooms rather than each bulb going in an individual pot, which is what some people like to do. I mean, if you're planning on showing them, then you know, single bulbs with 1 or 2 blooms on might be the best way to go. So that's what I've got, and you can see my conundrum, because this business of, you know, the bloom then grows a bulb with a leaf and the old bulb dies. I don't seem to have the dead bulbs, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. Maybe when these new growths push on, yeah, that old bulb will die, but that's exactly what I had last year. You know, I mean, if you take this one from Burnham's, this bloomed, there's where the flower spike was. And the bulb's grown on, it pushed a leaf out. Ah, did it though? I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused, dazed and confused. Brilliant track. For those of you who are that way inclined. Yeah, so that's what I've got. These need potting up soon, relatively soon. I would say by the end of the month, because the new growths are pushing on, many of which will bloom, and they need to be in a position where when they start to grow roots, the roots get straight into media. Otherwise they could dry and stall. Yeah. So these need potting up. That means I've got to mix up some media, going with, I can see Burnham's look like they put it in their seedling mix. So that looks like a mix of small bark, a bit of potting compost and some perlite. I think that's what they used. Let's see if we can ease that out. Let's get the bulbils out of the way, or they'll fall on the floor. Let's see if we can get that out. Not sure this is going to come out. No, I'm not going to force it. Let's put them back in. They're not rooted or anything, but they will get potted and they will do something. It's very scientific, isn't it? And they will do something. Not quite sure what, but they'll do something. This is the beginner's bit of me. It's a new genus. I haven't had them before. They don't grow like many of the other orchids I've got because they have this dormant period in the winter, and it's true dormancy. These is not like winter resters. Yeah, these are truly dormant. They do nothing, absolutely nothing. So it's a whole new ball game, and this will be my first growing season. So we will start a playlist. This will be video number 1, and we'll see how we get on. We'll do progress updates. Obviously, when I come to pop these up, we'll film all that sort of thing, and then we'll film the progress of the growths. Hopefully we'll get some blooms come. Well, I would suspect that Tongariro is probably going to be in bloom by the end of March. I got that in bloom from Burnham's at the Wisley Flower Show last year, which is March, mid-March. So I need to get on with these, or at least with that particular type, which is also this big bag full. Yeah, so I certainly need to get on with that. And the other, the species, the Formosana, that was also in bloom from Burnham's at Wisley. The others, those two were from Mather's, and that visit to Mather's, I think, was April. So we need to get on with these. These are spring bloomers, yeah? Late winter spring bloomers. I also have learnt from videos on YouTube that there are autumn blooming Pleonies. Now what the hell do you do with those? I haven't got any, but there's some nice ones up for sale on eBay at the moment. I found a Facebook group, Pleione Care and Sales and stuff like that, and there's some people selling bulbs or advertising the sales on the Facebook group with the link to their YouTube sales, if you see what I mean. And there's some good stuff, you know, there's good pictures with coins to show the size and everything like that, new growth showing. It looks like some good stuff. Some of them are not cheap, you know, as I said, you can pay £50 for a bulb, literally, with Pleonies, rare hybrids and things, scarce and stuff like that. But there's also, you know, there's some on there where you get like 6 bulbs for 30 quid. Well, price per bulb is relatively low then, isn't it? You know, and 6 bulbs would make a nice potful. You know, given that you pay 25 quid for a Phalaenopsis, that's one. So there's some stuff about, you know, there's some things about. I've also found a really good DESA site with plants for sale. It took me a while to realise it's in South Africa, isn't it? I don't think they post to the UK. But there are UK growers that are using that Facebook group, and possibly they may advertise some sales later in the year. Because that's another genus that is a bit new to me. So anyway, that's the Pleonies, a look and a chat, opening up all the gaps in my knowledge, which I'm happy to admit. I don't try and hide stuff like that. So to a degree, I don't know what I'm doing with these. I know they need potting up. I know what sort of media to use. I'm reasonably certain we'll get some blooms, and after that we'll get some leaves and the bulbs will swell up, and then we'll be back where we are now in the autumn. Therein lies the total sum of my knowledge. The other thing is they are prone to viruses. In particular, apparently they suffer from potato viruses. Same ones that like potato blight, that sort of thing, brought in by bugs. Well, bugs don't get in here, so we shouldn't suffer with that. But technically, these ought to go out for the growing season. Get some fresh air around them, shady spot, out of the sun, somewhere where it's cool and breezy would do them the world of good. And then they will get bugs, so they're staying in. Staying in. But it might be a bit warm for them. We shall see. Again, that's to be experienced. They grew pretty well this year, last year, what is last year now. We had some nice big big leaves on there. You know, some of them were like 18 inches long. So they sort of grew okay, and certainly the bulbs have swollen. See, I say the bulbs are swollen up. Have they? Or are these the old bulbs? Oh, I flipping know. We will work on these together, and I shall go and do some research, but not today because the time's getting on. And yeah. Pleonies. A bit of a novelty. I love the blooms. They are gorgeous, bright colours, lovely shades of pinks and magentas, into reds. There's some orange around, and they're a bit scarce. Some yellows, and lovely whites with markings on. So there's a range of colours. The thing that's not wrong with them, the thing that's not good, is the length of blooming, which is quite short. And you know me, lengthy blooms, reasonable showy blooms, preferably with some fragrance, that's my good end. But I'm prepared to put up with a bit less than that. I mean, you get some people grow orchids that come into bloom once a year and last a couple of days. I see no point in that, personally. It's all that effort for little, too little. I want more than that from my orchids. And we'll see how much we can get out of these. Right, there we go. Sorry for the lack of videos, but you know, I can't help being under the weather, whatever was wrong. I'll never know, but I wasn't right and I'm okay now. So we should be okay. And there will be gaps in the video postings because there isn't much going on this time of year. So there will be days where there just isn't a video. Hopefully we won't go 3 days like we've just done, but there will be some gaps here and there. And we'll see how we get on. Bye for now. See you next time.